All right, Bryce. Wow, this game got to the top of the ninth in a hurry, huh?
It did. I told my wife 4 p.m. She's probably not going to be too happy.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Wade.
Yeah. I mean, this game started 2 hours ago, and it's in the top of the ninth. Less than 2 hours ago. All right, well, Ellie De La Cruz leading off. Pretty good guy here. Man, love to see him get on base and wreak havoc against Williams, right?
Yeah, big time. He can
All
just
right.
find a way on.
So, Bryce, I don't think you've done a ninth inning with us, so I would try to avoid the chat, try to avoid the game day because it's always ahead of our stream.
Okay.
I'm going to let you know here. We're going to try to sync up. Williams is set. The pitch. Strike.
Strike.
First pitch. Where are you at?
I'm right there with you.
Okay, good. We're close enough. All right. Well,
get on base. Somebody get on base. This is like 6 appearances in 8 days for Williams, I think.
Yeah, and he was warming up yesterday too. I don't know why he was warming up. That was very strange.
Yeah, that was reckless. Good take.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't throw like a pitch over like 40 miles an hour. I don't know how hot he was, but I was kind of surprised when they showed him doing something out there. The Cubs are going into a rain delay their last game before the All-Star break. I've got that on another screen.
Those guys are hot.
That's tough.
Not much you can do there. Steer's going through it a little bit right now. It's kind of his first real slump in a minute.
Yeah, I think the All-Star break's a good coming at a good time for Steer. I think I honestly think him not getting selected is a benefit for the Reds.
Yeah. I mean, these guys haven't played a full season. Most of them only played probably a maximum of 120, 130 games. So good to get them a little break.
Good take. That's a tough pitch, man.
I got a weird feeling Joey's going to hit one of those changeups a long way.
If Joey takes Devin Williams deep, man, how many home runs has Devin Williams given up this year? It can't be many.
No.
Has he given up any?
Let's look. Devin.
He's given up 3.
Oh, yeah. It's time.
All right. A little more. I mean, that's still not a lot, but
he gave up 2 in one game against Minnesota.
Yeah. I think I saw coming in. There you go. Good take. He had only allowed runs in like 3 of his like however many appearances he's all year. Like only 3 times he allowed a run.
Sick. Yeah, literally. San Fran, he gave up 1. Minnesota, he gave up 4.
Yeah.
And Chicago gave up 2.
Sheesh. Hey, good stuff, Steer. This is good stuff.
Just a battler. Come on, man. Hit him.
There you go. All right, folks. We're asking for your likes on the YouTube stream. Likes equal dubs. It's on you if they don't come back. Not on Devin Williams. It's on you. I'm just kidding. But we would appreciate your likes nonetheless.
I wonder how Devin Williams came about realizing he threw the best changeup in maybe baseball history. I mean, he's just probably toying with it one day. He's like, wow, that moves a lot.
That'll play. Good at bat.
Dude,
Good
that
at
is
bat.
nasty.
Brewers are just not a team you want to, you want to fall behind on.
Yeah.
Probably the only team in this division that really. I mean, I know Bedard's pretty good, but they don't have like the depth.
No, yeah, I think that, like you said, you got to get them early because their offense is going to fold most of the time too. Oh man, his changeup is allowed a 141 batting average this year, 25 strikeouts.
We'll get to some draft talk later. Don't worry. But you got to stick around to the end.
Come on, Joe.
Jeez. Well, let's do a show.
Let's do a show.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the wall, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Red win! Line to right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first. And Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to a career of Trey Bruce.
All right, what's going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds. Nick Kirby with Bryce Spalding. Today, Reds fall 1-0 to the Brewers. Obviously, not the way that we were hoping to end a really incredible first half for the Cincinnati Reds. Bryce, it almost kind of feels like both teams at the end of this is probably feeling pretty good about themselves, which is kind of weird, in a 3-game series.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Reds are they're not satisfied by any means, but they need a break. The bullpen needs a break. Just overall, I mean, you really couldn't ask for anything more in the first half. 9 games over 500, sitting in first place, got the same team coming in to your place after the break. So you take care of business after the break, then you're going to be feeling really good.
All right, let's go into it. Quick box score recap at a 1-0 game. Not a whole lot to recap, but I'll run through it here. At the bottom of the first turned out to be a huge play. Spencer Steer misplayed a ball off of Christian Yelich's bat for a ground rule double. Then with 2 outs, Jesse Winker hit a single with an exit velocity of 76.7. That made it 1-0 Brewers, and that would be the final score. Ben Lively, he pitched really, really well as anyone could have possibly expected. 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Reds, they did have 7 base runners against Wade Miley, but couldn't find a way to get any of them across the plate over 6 innings. And then when it got to the Brewers bullpen, they were just absolutely lights out. Reds really never had any threats against the Brewers pen. Reds fall 1-0. Reds streak of 7 consecutive road series wins comes to an end to end the first half. Reds finished the first half 50-41, 1 game ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's start with the positive. Let's start with Ben Lively because Bryce, I honestly was expecting Lively to go 3, maybe 4 innings max, and he almost got through 6. Man, he was impressive today. I know I got some tweets already that I said I think Weaver might be better than Lively. I'm looking pretty foolish for that today. But man, Lively was great, through strikes, just a impressive start, and he definitely is going to get another chance in the rotation after that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was kind of the Lively we got to start his tenure with the Reds. He was pitch efficient. He went deep in the game. So really couldn't ask for anything more from Lively today. The thing about him that kind of makes him unique from maybe these other journeyman guys that we have is he does throw like 6 pitches for a strike. So maybe if he does not command in his breaking ball that day, he can maybe go to his changeup or his fastball a little bit more. So I think Lively's a serviceable 4 or 5, especially on this team. Like you said, I mean, we're really just looking for anybody that can give us some quality innings there, and that's exactly what he did today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Lively really was hurt for several of those last couple starts, and he was really kind of gutting them through. Because this was a guy that came in. He had a 6.17 ERA in his 4 starts in June. He gave up 29 hits in 23 and a third innings. So he just did not pitch very well in June after that incredible May. Maybe he really was hurt. I don't know exactly what to expect out of him, but what he's given the Reds this year is one of the biggest reasons the Reds are in first place at the All-Star break.
Yeah, 100%. And Cowboy kind of pointed to that too. He's like, maybe Lively was just one of the, I mean, is a guy who had been a journeyman. He's finally getting his shot. Like, he's not going to say anything until it's like dire that he's not feeling right or not feeling 100% there. So you're right. Maybe he just needed a couple weeks there to get kind of recouped. And yeah, I mean, if we can get that version of him the rest of July until we get Ashcraft and or not Ashcraft, Lodolo and Greenback, then we're going to be looking pretty good.
All right, let's get to the offense. I know I saw a lot of people, upset at the Reds' approach, maybe being aggressive off of Wade Miley. I don't know. It's one of those things that you hit some frozen ropes on the first pitch and no one ever complains about it. I mean, they did have 8 hard hit balls. They had a 305 expected batting average against Miley. I kind of chalk it up. It wasn't their day. Miley made some good pitches at times. But I don't know. I mean, like you saw Kevin Newman first pitch. I think it was the first pitch, just ripped that double. I think that's kind of how you have to approach Wade Miley. If you let him get ahead in the count, that's when he can really mow you down. So I don't know. I just chalk it up as just one of those days you move on.
Yeah, the offense is the least of our worries. I mean, I put something out. It's the 4th time being shut out this year, and only the 2nd time in the Ellie De La Cruz era that they didn't score 3 or more runs. So, I mean, that's a pretty remarkable run. You're eventually going to have one of those days where you just hit a bunch of hard hit balls at people. So, I mean, like you said, just chalk it up to that, and let's move on to next weekend and hopefully take 2 out of 3 at home.
Yeah, and I do think that we mentioned before we started the show about how some guys could really, I think, use a break here with the All-Star break. A lot of players that have never played 162 games. I think Spencer Steer is struggling a little bit. Obviously, Jonathan India has been struggling. Matt McLean, although he played really, really well yesterday, did get a double today. Hasn't been maybe as sharp. So I do think this break is coming at a good time. I think it's good that these guys will be going to get a little bit of rest, and they're going to come back for a huge series right out of the break. It's kind of wild to think that the Reds are 2-5 against the Brewers, and they still have the lead on them at the All-Star break. But hey, you hope you can turn around, take 2 or 3 from them in your building. And I mean, I think any rational Reds fan, kind of going into 6 games against the Brewers, said, "Hey, 3-3, we're up 2 games at the end of it. We would gladly take that." So I think that's just kind of what we're hoping for next week in a Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the kind of Brewer struggles are a little overblown. I think that this totally different Reds team than they played in the 4-game series at home, but prior the start of June there. So, I mean, I think that they just need to, like, some guys are going through some struggles. Friedel's struggling a little bit as well. So it's going to be good to kind of give them 4 or 5 days, and I think we're going to see a more rejuvenated team, one that's already playing really well. So it's not like you are going to be expecting a whole lot of different, but I definitely think we'll see a little bit more pep and some guy step.
Wanted to ask you about this because the Reds did get out of it, and it didn't necessarily hurt the team because they only allowed the one run in that first inning. I was kind of, as I'm watching this game, I honestly went back and forth in my own head of, should David Bell be going all out in this game, last game before the All-Star break? Like, should we try to throw Lucas Sims, Alexis Diaz? Obviously, it worked.
Right.
Fortunate, they got a fortunate double play there in the 8th.
Yeah.
But I also, like, you're losing. You're against the back of the Brewers bullpen. Your probability of coming back, I know as great as this team has been with comebacks, is still pretty low. Those guys could use even an extra day of rest with rest coming. I don't know. I really was having a hard time forming an opinion on that because I really saw both sides of that.
Yeah, I think that too. Like, it showed some trust in those guys as well, pitching in a big situation against a divisional opponent. Like, hey, Gabo, I know that you struggled a little bit that inning, but you got out of a big inning there and against the top of the Brewers order, and we know you can do that in maybe the 6th or the 7th as well. So, yeah, it was probably one of those days where, like, yeah, I mean, we got Devin Williams coming in. You obviously want to trust Derek Law. That's one of his first high leverage situations that he's pitched in since he's been back as well. So I don't mind it. I think you got to start trusting more of these guys in those situations rather than just throwing Sims and Diaz over and over. I think the possible addition of Antone's going to help, but I do think that it's definitely – it showed some confidence in those guys, and they stepped up to the plate today when they needed to.
All right, go ahead and get it out of the way. The topic around the 50-41 Reds. Your thoughts on Jonathan India batting third?
I've been very vocal about it. I do think that it is a frustrating thing at times because he is struggling. But in all reality, how much does it really matter? They've 20 and 5 their last 25. So I think David Bell is very much a guy that loves to have consistency in the lineup. He loves to have the same type of guys in there. So I don't think he's going to change it up too much, as much as I would like him to.
It'll be interesting to see if he does make any changes at the All-Star break. Maybe it was a thing where, hey, we're just going to ride this out the All-Star break, see what happens. We finally lose our first series, then maybe he does mix it up. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think it matters all that much, but I do think it's something that does matter. And I'll give some criticism to David Bell here. So, hey, wake up, everyone. Wake up, everyone. I didn't like the defensive alignment today. Like, I don't mind Spencer Steer playing in left field when it gets the absolute optimal lineup out there. But you did not have to play Spencer Steer in left field to get the optimal lineup out there today. You had Kevin Newman DHing, and you had Joey Votto playing first base against a left-handed pitcher. I kind of feel like David Bell got sucked into a little bit of the emotional of this incredible run that Joey's been on, and didn't trust what I think is a major reason the Reds are where they're at, which is playing the numbers and playing the percentages. I just did not think Spencer Steer needed to be playing in left field, and it obviously cost the Reds. That was the only run. That's a play that if Will Benson was out in left field, if you went with a more defensive lineup today, and I know Will Benson's a lefty on lefty, but Joey Votto's a lefty on lefty, and he could have got a better defensive alignment out there. Will Benson makes that catch. Am I wrong?
No, yeah, you're 100% right, and I think that you're right. It was probably one of those decisions. David was like, Joe, he's just unbelievably on fire right now. Maybe he thought he could run into one against Miley or something, but yeah, looking back, it's obviously like, wow, like the one run they scored was a misplay in the first inning. So yeah, I definitely think they could have done it a little bit differently there, but I don't know. Obviously, we're not talking about this if we don't get shut out. So it's just, yeah, I definitely think that he probably just got lost in the Votto hot streak a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, and then the other move was there was two spots where I felt like you were poor defensively. Obviously, Steer in left field. We talked about how you could have done that, but Kevin Newman was DHing today, and Jonathan India was playing second base. Now, granted, the Reds got a very lucky break after that, but that misplay by India at second base, I think it was in the 8th inning, that could have really allowed a couple more runs to score. Really gave the Reds no chance. Even less of a chance against Devin Williams in the 9th than they already had. I don't really understand that. I felt like, you should have, one of those either India off second base, DHing Newman third, Ellie McLean, you slide him around, or steer out of left field. I didn't like the defensive alignment. I think we gotta remember that defense matters a lot, and I think the defensive turnaround is also one of the big reasons that the Reds have turned the ship around.
Yeah, defense has been huge.
Well, speaking of defense, let's talk about Matt McLean, because I thought obviously he did have a double today. Had a great day yesterday after he kind of been scuffling a little bit, but as a guy who watched Matt McLean more than anyone in the minor leagues, you watched more than I did, but I did not have this perception that Matt McLean was going to come up and be a really great defensive shortstop. I thought he could be a capable, but did you see anything like what he's been doing? How smooth he looks out there?
No, yeah, I think anybody that watched him kind of tabbed him as a really good defensive second baseman. He has really good hands, good actions, that type of thing. But had some questions about his arm. I think he's even improved his arm. I think he has a above average arm strength now. He gets to a lot of balls that really I didn't expect him to get to, and he's turned a lot of double plays that just really don't make a lot of sense for him to turn. So it's definitely been a huge boost. And as you said, I watched him a lot. I always thought he was a quality defensive shortstop. I thought he could do it kind of like maybe like a Kyle Farmer type of shortstop that makes a lot of the routine plays, isn't going to make a lot of the big plays that you kind of need in a pinch there. But he really has done that and more. So been really good to see. Obviously, I think his development as a whole has really sped up the Reds' development in general. Nobody, and I guarantee nobody in the Reds organization expected him to come up and make a big of an impact as he has this quickly. So, yeah, definitely all props to Matt McLean and everything he's done. What a monster first half for that guy, and really excited to see him continue this year.
All right, let's get into some Reds minor league talk. Daytona and Chattanooga are still to play. So again, for the podcast version, I'll re-record a lot of this section so we can give you a rundown on Monday morning. Dayton, they won 8-3 over Great Lakes. A guy I wanted to ask you about, Jose Acuna, pitched today, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, struck out 3. He's got a 2.44 ERA and 66 in the 3rd innings pitched. What's your thoughts on him? When do you think the Reds might look to bump him up to Double-A?
Yeah, that whole Dayton pitching staff has been awesome all year. Acuna, obviously, he's kind of a pitch to contact guy per se, but he still kind of racks up anywhere from 5 to 7 strikeouts per 9 there or whatever. But yeah, he's acquired in the Naquin deal. He got really good raw stuff. He doesn't throw particularly hard. He's 92 to 94, but he just throws a lot of strikes. He attacks hitters. He's kind of got that Johnny Cueto feel to him. You'll see him every once in a while messing with timing, messing with hitters. So he kind of already knows how to pitch, and it's really rare for a 20-year-old to already be that advanced with 3 feel for 3 pitches and in the zone, that type of thing. So yeah, I definitely think we expect him, Julian Aguilar, and then Hunter Parks. I think all 3 of those guys could be promoted to Chattanooga sooner rather than later. It's probably just a matter of they don't want to promote them right before the tacky ball switch. So that's next week, I'm pretty sure. I think that's July 16th. So we will be going away from that, and then I would expect some promotions to follow for Chattanooga.
Edwin Arroyo 0 for 3 with a walk. Austin Hendrick 0 for 3 with a walk. What's your thoughts on kind of where Edwin Arroyo is? He started off really slow, then got fire, absolutely scorching hot there for a while. Kind of slowed down a little bit here to the break. He's probably another guy that could probably use a little bit of rest. The minor league's correct, Bryce, also take pretty much the same All-Star break, right?
Yeah. I think they have next week or the week after off, so it's coming up for him. Arroyo's definitely he's an interesting guy. He's a really good prospect, don't get me wrong, but there's always been questions around his hit tool. Is he going to be more towards a 50 hit tool? Is he going to be more towards a 30 hit tool? So he's definitely got to answer those questions. He really hasn't done himself any favors this year. He had a monster first half last year for Modesto, Seattle's low A there, but he did struggle a little bit in the Reds organization. So he's got all the tools. Just it's a matter of putting it all together for a sustained stretch there. Like you said, he had a really good stretch there where he kind of took off and was handling really anything and everything. He did it a home run yesterday. But yeah, no, I'm not too worried about Arroyo. He's obviously very young. He's only 19, so very young for his level, and I would expect he stays there the full year in Dayton, and then this kind of continues his progression. So, not super concerned about the numbers. He has lowered his swinging strike percentage, which is something I really like to look at for prospects. I think it kind of tells the tale a little bit more than just straight K percentage. And he has lowered his K percentage as well. So happy overall with his progression. But yeah, he does need to show a little bit more with his hit tool in order to continue to rise up those rankings there.
All right, I see some good questions in the chat. We'll get to them kind of after we finish this minor league discussion. Of course, we'll also run through the draft as well. But Louisville, how about that? They're up 11-1 over Toledo. Christian Roa, he's a guy I wanted to ask you about, Bryce. 4 innings pitched today, 4 hits, only 1 run, did strike out 2, only 1 walk. Is he a guy that you think could maybe be a depth option for the Reds here in the near future?
Yeah, I think he's kind of done that for himself this year. I'm really happy to see his progression. He was a guy that obviously the Reds were very high on, taking him in the second round in 2020. He's got really good stuff, and he's always struck out a lot of people. He's always kind of been a guy that is you worry about his command a little bit. I think he's walked way too many people this year, but he is definitely a guy that's establishing himself as a depth option, maybe a bullpen guy. I think his stuff would play up in the bullpen. Let me pull it up today. But yeah, I think he's up to 96 today, which is not super normal for him. He's usually 90, 93, 94. So that's obviously good to see. Good spin on the fastball. He does throw 5 pitches, and I do think that maybe in a lesser role in a bullpen, he can just go like fastball changeup, fastball slider, something like that, and have that. But he definitely has the tools and the, I guess, ability to pitch in the big league. So that's obviously a good sign.
CES and Fairchild, each 2 hits today. Barrero also has a hit for the Bats so far. Again, I'll run through all that stuff again in the podcast tomorrow. So let's get to some questions here because you guys got a lot of great questions and love that. I'm going to start off with this one. How are the Reds supposed to make the playoffs if they can't beat be so overblown? I just 162 matters. So, and the Reds have beat a lot of really, really good teams, as I know a lot of other people have pointed out in the chat. Here's one for you, Bryce. Is Hector Rodriguez the next Acuna? And why is the answer yes?
Hector Rodriguez train is full bore, man. There are so many publications that are talking about even top 50 prospect status for him. So, and he has been awesome. I cannot believe the Mets gave us Jose Acuna and Hector Rodriguez for probably 60 at bats of Tyler Naquin in a platoon. I mean, that is just incredible work by our king, Nick Crow there. So, yeah, I really think that Rodriguez probably his development this year is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen since I've been looking into prospects. Like, everybody was happy with him with the return. Obviously, he was in the complex leagues and things like that. But what he's done in the Florida State League this year has just been nothing short of incredible. With all the home runs he's put up, it's insane. All the triples and doubles and extra base hits.
All right. I really like this one. Zachary bringing a really, really good question to this. I like that this is way more obscure than just surface level. So Zachary's doing some digging. I appreciate it. I love it. Do you think Evan Kravitz, did I say his name right, is an option as a left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen in the second half? And then I want to talk about another pitcher, and then I want to talk about something else.
You're pulling at my heartstrings with Evan Kravitz. That's my guy. I love him, man. He's like 6'9" probably. He looks like an absolute giant on the mound, and he looks really good. He had a really good start to his AAA career. He kind of struggled with his last outing a little bit, but he throws strikes. He's obviously straight down in the zone, up to 95, 96 with his fastball, and a couple good secondary offerings there. I definitely think he can be an option. I think he's a guy that they obviously are feel confident in, with him already being in AAA, starting the year in double. So, yeah, I definitely think we could see Kravitz, especially with the really need for another left-handed option out of the bullpen. Obviously, AY has been great this year, but you can't just keep only having one guy to kind of rely on there. You kind of need a good mix there. So, yeah, I definitely think we could expect to see Kravitz at some point.
I'm glad Mike brought this up because I wanted to talk about this today because I know there's a lot of chatter about this. A good question, Mike. Amir Garrett was DFA'd. Pick him up, help him locate his slider. I'm not against bringing Garrett back. I liked Garrett when he was a Red. I know a lot of people didn't. I definitely think there's potential. I definitely think he's probably better than a lot of other options we have, and the Reds could use another lefty. I'm just not sure if the Reds would actually do that. I kind of felt like that trade when they traded him with Mike Meyer, part of it was not really necessary. I don't want to say like Amir Garrett was a bad guy or anything like that, or that he was some big giant clubhouse cancer or anything like that, because I don't know, and I don't necessarily think that's true. But I kind of think when the Reds traded him, part of it was just he's ran his course in Cincinnati. We should move on. So I don't know if it would make sense for the Reds to bring him back. I think it would make sense for a lot of other teams to bring him back. But I'm also not really against it if they think he would fit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And like we just talked about with Kravitz there, like they could use a left-handed arm. Like if they go out and claim Amir and he's on the team and helps us out a little bit, and I don't think anybody's going to be too mad about it. But, man, he has struggled with his command lately. He's got 20 walks and 24 innings pitched this year.
Well, that's tough. All right, and then I've got a good question from Alex, and we get to this one next here in a second. If anyone else got any other questions, please fire away. Love it, and then we'll get to the draft. I cannot believe so many people are excited about the draft. I love it. That's awesome. Sometimes it's hard to know what people really are interested in versus not. We try to cater that as much as we can, but with obviously there's a wide range of interest. So Bryce, me and you were in a group chat. We were kind of talking, and I had this idea. I know everyone's like, go get starting pitching, go get starting pitching, go get starting pitching, go get starting pitching. I don't know. I don't know if the Reds need to get starting pitching. And this is pre-Ben Lively today. But I mean, this is assuming the Reds feel pretty confident in Green and Lodolo. That's the big if. I don't know the answer to that. If they feel pretty confident in Green and Lodolo coming back, I'm not necessarily sure you have to go get starting pitching, because you would have Green, Lodolo, Abbott, Williamson, Phillips maybe at some point,
Ashcraft.
and Ashcraft. That's 6 like pitchers that I like, and they're still lively. I wouldn't be against the Reds just going all out on the reliever market and trying to bring in like 3 quality relievers, kind of like what they did in 2021. Obviously, relievers aren't going to cost you the kind of prospect capital that a starting pitcher would cost, and you probably can get a reliever that inning per inning is a significantly better pitcher than whoever you're bringing in as a starter. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that last night as well. It's like they're not arm injuries that Green and Lodolo are coming back from, which I think is a good thing. Obviously, they're already building their arms now. Now it's a matter of their legs and their stamina and getting everything back there. So I think they're 100% confident, and those guys are going to come back healthy. Williamson has shown great strides. Graham looks to be back to himself. And then obviously Abbott's going to be Abbott. So you got those 5. You got Lively. You got Kennedy, who can make a start in a pinch. You got Connor Phillips, who can obviously start at some point this year. And then, like you said, I think maybe like a long relief guy, maybe a guy that has started in the past and now he's in the bullpen. Like, I think the Braves do a really good job of that. Like, they have like Jesse Chavez who can go multiple innings at a time and eat those innings. Like kind of what the Reds do with Law, to where Law goes in and maybe gives you 2 innings. Cruz goes in, gives you 2 innings. And like even like when they acquired Sessa, like as Chris talked about there, but going a couple innings there can really kind of help lengthen that bullpen rather than just guys that are just going 1-1-1. You're using 5-6 relievers in a game at a time there.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, what's worse? You could maybe have some like bullpen games on the stretch if you needed to. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting way. But again, it all hinges on where is Green and Lodolo. Yeah. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know realistically how confident they are. But I think if you're feeling pretty legit confident in those guys coming back, then I don't know. I kind of like that route. Great questions here today, Alex. Bryce, rank your top 5 prospects. I'm gonna throw a caveat on this right now. We're gonna say Elly De La Cruz is not a prospect. We're gonna say players that have that are still in the minors. That might make it a little more interesting.
All right, number 1, we'll go Noelvi Marte. I think that's a clear and obvious one. I think Marte is gonna be a stud. 2, Oh man. Let's go Connor Phillips too. I think Connor Phillips has top 3 in a rotation type potential. 3, we'll go Edwin Arroyo. I still think that his upside is as good as anybody that the Reds have. Switch hitting shortstop, those are hard to come by. A guy that OPS'd over 800 for both sides last year. Slick fielder, obviously probably the highest potential to stay at shortstop. 4, let's see. I know I'm gonna miss somebody. Let's go Christian Encarnacion Strand at 4. I still think his bat is too good to leave out of that. And 5, give me a tie between Hector Rodriguez and Chase Petty. I think Hector Rodriguez is a top 100 guy.
You can't do a tie
And
in prospect
we'll
rankings.
go Chase Petty. Fine, we'll go Hector, then Chase, and then Carlos Jorge Seth.
All right. Love it.
It's still a ridiculously good system, which is insane that you graduate Ellie, McLean, Steer, all these guys, and you still have that good of a system. Good job, Nick.
I was pretty busy today. So was there something on this? This is a question from Scott. What are your thoughts on MLB not allowing Ellie to use the knob in the second half? Did something come out on that? If someone has information on that, let me know. I didn't see anything. So
I didn't see anything either.
Okay, I didn't know if you did. So maybe I didn't miss anything. If someone else does, let me know. All right, let's get into some draft talk. If there's any more questions, we'll circle back around to that. Love all the interaction today. The draft is at 7 p.m. tonight. It's on ESPN and MLB Network. And I think it's also streaming on MLB.com. I think this is like the only thing that Major League Baseball will let you watch anywhere you want to watch it. So take advantage of it tonight. I guess we got to go to Chris's question because it kind of, I guess, is the bulk of what I want to kind of ask you. In order of how much does Bryce wanted to happen in the following prospect draft picks? Clark, Dolander, Jenkins, Lauder. You read the rest. Who's the one you'd want out of if you had the choice?
How much I would like for it to happen. Walker Jenkins is the guy I want. But it's a matter of if he falls past 4. So there's a lot of talk right now. Obviously, the big 3 of Skeens, Cruz and Langford, they're probably going to go 1, 2, 3 there. So it's a matter of does Max Clark or Walker Jenkins fall, and that's kind of the 2 guys that I'm looking at. The Reds are really known for doing those overslot deals, and that's the kind of the rumor that's circling right now that they're going to take one of those 2 high school bats and buy them down a little bit to pick 7 and take them. So Max Clark and Walker Jenkins are 2 guys that I think Reds fans need to get familiar with. 2 guys that I really think that are going to be at the top of the Reds board for tonight.
All right. What do you think about the Pirates if they go for an underslot player? What do you think about that?
It's tough. I mean, I think the only real what are they doing type move would be if they took Max Clark at 1. But I really don't think Reds fans, Pirates fans, MLB fans in general should be mad at them if they take one of the top 3 we talked about there. So I think that everybody had it in their brain that Dylan Cruz was going to be the number 1 overall pick, the number 1 overall prospect. He's the next generational type outfielder. And I think that kind of got disproved a little bit this year. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying he had a bad year. He had a monster year. But I do think that the fact that he did Wyatt Langford did kind of jump up as much as he did. Paul Skeens kind of established himself as the top pitching prospect we've seen since Steven Strasburg. So I think the Pirates are probably talking money with all 3 of those guys. If Dylan Cruz really does want $10 million, I think that's a little insane. And I think they probably will go with Skeens or Langford. And I don't think it would be that crazy of a pick, honestly.
All right. Well, looking forward to it tonight, 7 o'clock. I'm going to bug Bryce later tonight. I'm going to ask you live on there. Think you could come back on and record a little bit about who the Reds draft for tomorrow's podcast?
I think I should. Yeah.
All right. I'll bug you or I'll bug someone else. I know nothing about this stuff. I don't pretend to. I don't know a lot about anything, but I really know nothing about the draft. So that's why I bring on smarter people to talk about that. All right. Well, Bryce, you got any other any other final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up for the day?
No, heck of a first half. You guys have done awesome work here at Chatterbox, and looking forward to following along the remainder of the second half of the season there. And hopefully we're looking up in September and October, and the Reds are clinching the division. That'd be pretty awesome. So
50 wins at the break. 50 wins at the break. I still shake my head at that. Look, today sucked, but 101-62. They won 50 in the first half. You can hate me for saying it, but I 50 wins, man. That's incredible. I appreciate all the love and support for the show. Like I said, podcast tomorrow. We'll talk about what happened in the minor league games tonight. We'll talk about who the Reds draft, and then planning to have some podcasts every single day this week. Obviously, tomorrow's will be part of this show, and then talking about the draft, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going to try to bring on some guests. They'll be audio exclusive, so we're not planning on putting them up on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed to Chatterbox Reds wherever you get podcasts. We'd love it if you left us a 5-star review. There's been so many that have of late, and we really appreciate all of that. Yeah, so until we meet again, go Reds.
go Reds.